Hi Geometry, this is half sheet number 1 and this is our Unit 1 Lesson 21 notes. So when you're done, these half sheets will be glued on the blank page after 169 in our workbooks. So the triangle sum theorem is the first theorem we're going to talk about. And we know that the sum of the measures of the angle of a triangle is 180 degrees for a while. So the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C is 180 degrees. And the 6 problems on this half sheet are all this theorem. So let's take a look at them. Let's number the first two, numbers 1 and 2. I have 3 angles of a triangle, and I know that all 3 angles should total 180, but I'm given 2 of the angles, and I'm asked to find the third. So I know that if they all total 180, I could subtract 80 and 35 from my diagram, and I would have my missing angle measure. So when I get out my calculator and I do that, I find that it's 65 degrees. The missing angle was 65 degrees. So let's look at the next problem. I have 2 angles that are both 70, and I'd like to find this third angle. Again, I know all 3 angles total 180. So let's take 70 away, and then take the other 70 degrees away. And when I do that, I find I get 40 degrees from my remaining missing angle. Let's take a look at the next 2 problems. So we'll call this problem 3 and problem 4. Now there's different ways to start number 3, but I'd like to draw your attention to this little triangle on the right that I know 2 of the angles for. That means that I could use the fact that I know that all 3 total to 180, and I could subtract 66 and subtract 84, and I would find that I would get 30 degrees for the measure of angle 1. Great. Now, there's different ways to go next, but I'd like to draw your attention to this 84 and angle 3. That's a linear pair. And if you remember from earlier in this unit, a linear pair adds to 180. So I can do 180 minus 84. And when I do that, I get 96 degrees for angle 3. So I know that angle 3 is 96 degrees. So next, let's look at our last triangle. I now know 2 of the angles in this blue triangle. So I can use the fact that I know all 3 angles total 180 degrees. I can do my 180 minus my 43 minus my 96. And when I do that, I get 41 degrees for angle 2. So let's take a look at example number 4. In example number 4, I'd like to draw your attention to, out of the 2 triangles, I'd like to draw your attention to the top triangle. I know the 61 and the 68. That helps me get my angle 1. I know that all 3 add to 180. So 180 minus 68 minus 61 gives me 51 degrees for angle 1. Now, I'm going to use something I learned in earlier units. Somehow, I need to jump down to the bottom triangle. And I remembered that vertical angles are formed when 2 lines intersect. So the 61 degrees in angle 2 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So I know that angle 2 is 61 degrees. So now I'd like to draw your attention to that bottom triangle. I now know 2 of the angles because I've learned earlier in this unit that this right angle mark means I have a 90-degree angle. So 180 minus my 61 degrees for angle 2 minus my 90 degrees for the right angle means that for angle 3, I get 29 degrees. 29 degrees for my angle 3. So let's take a look at my last two problems on this page. So, oops, my page went kind of crooked. So we'll call this numbers 5 and 6. So like I was mentioning a moment ago, I know that right angle mark means 90 degrees. So this whole triangle right here, I know that all three angles total 180. So I'm going to write this like an equation where I take the 25 degrees plus the x plus 69 plus the 90, and they all equal 180. So let's write that. My 25 degrees plus my x plus 69 plus 90 all equal 180 degrees. Now when you do this, you usually have some like terms to combine together. So I know that my 25 and my 69 and my 90 are all integers, and I can combine them together. I get x plus 184 equals 180. So I'm going to subtract 184 from both sides, and the 184's cancel. I get x equals, and on my calculator or by hand, when I do 180 minus 184, I get negative 4 for my answer. And a lot of times we get nervous when we get a negative answer. And so let's double check, because I too get a little bit nervous when my answer is negative. Let's go substitute this in. So I get negative 4 plus 69, which 69 take 4 away is 65 degrees. But I'm okay with that because 25 plus 65 is 90, plus another 90 is my 180. So I know that I did my answer just fine. Let's take a look at the bottom triangle. So this bottom triangle, I again know that all three of these angles total 180 degrees. So my strategy is going to be to add all three of these angles together and set them equal to 180 degrees. So let's do that. Let's take my x plus 87 plus my 57 plus x plus my 50. And let's add them all up and set them equal to 180 degrees. So I've got some like terms. I have all my integer terms, which are like terms, and I also have an x plus an x. So x plus x is not x squared. That's when I multiply x times x. 1x plus 1x would give me 2x. And now I add up my 87, my 57, my 50, and I get 194 equals 180. So let's subtract my 194 over. Now when I do that, I'm getting another negative number. I have 2x equals negative 14. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. I'm going to get x equals a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Get x equals negative 7. So I do get a little nervous about that. So let's go double check real quick. 57 plus a negative 7 is 50 degrees. And negative 7 plus 87 is 80 degrees. Oh, I feel good about this because 50 plus 50 is 100 plus 80 is 180. It all checks out, so that's good. At this time, let's go back to the top of the page and let's look at the exterior angle theorem, shall we? So the exterior angle theorem is brand new, and an exterior angle is one on the outside. It's formed by extending any side of the triangle. So if I extend this side, on the outside I have angle 1. So the exterior angle theorem says the exterior angle, which is angle 1, is means equal the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. Well, to be adjacent means to touch. So let's put an angle 4 in here. 1 and 4 are adjacent. So angles 2 and 3 are my non-adjacent angles. So the measure of angle 1, the exterior angle, is equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. Let's look at why that is. We have learned in this unit that the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4, those are the three angles of a triangle, and they are 180. We also learned in an earlier lesson, lesson 19, that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 4, that's these two, also add up to 180 because they are on a straight line. Well, if this is both containing the measure of angle 4, that means whatever angle 1 is and whatever 2 and 3 are have to be the same number. That's why the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. This is my exterior angle theorem. And you'll need to go to the second half sheet video to learn more about those.